They were so bright, even though they weren't real stars. Vinyl let the thought resonate. Just because something isn't real, does that have to make it bad? Breaker's music is electronic, and it's insanely good. Maybe I'm more like him and less like my parents. Breakbeat and my parents. Why do I always put them together? They're totally different. He's a pretty laid-back pony, really nice and caring, even if he is serious too much. Mom and Dad, I can't describe them. They're so frustrating. Can't stand them. What's with all the fighting about me anyway? A thought struck Vinyl. Wait. Yeah. They're always arguing over what kind of musician I'm gonna be. Like it's gonna benefit them. Maybe it does. Maybe I'm just a source of profit for the family. Either way, Breaker's tons better than those two. We could take care of each other if it came down to it. Just like that first time we met. Memory flooded her mind. The air in a large playground was saturated with the laughter of fillies and colts, each eager to play for just half an hour before the final class of another uneventful day at Philadelphia Preschool. The sounds of robins chirping could be heard in the more unoccupied areas of the playground, such as the place where Vinyl found herself sitting again, 2 weeks of school and still no pony to talk to. She must have been the loneliest pony in school. At least, she thought so. She sat underneath a sycamore near the edge of the dirt road in a small grove that hid her from every pony else. I wonder when they're actually going to teach us some magic, she said to herself. Most of us have horns anyway. Might as well teach us how to use them. I'm going to show every pony else how cool I am without magic. Vinyl dug her hoof into the ground. Despite the attention she craved, she was perfectly content with relaxing by herself in the shadows, and she knew it. Being alone wasn't exactly her choice. She'd done something on the second day of school that caught a teacher's attention, and at this point, quite a few ponies felt intimidated by her because of that day. I wonder if that colt's still mad that I knocked him around. He shouldn't be. He kinda had it coming. Vinyl muttered, her words clouding the far-off noises of a small group of fillies playing jump rope. Once she completed her sentence, sounds faded back in, filling the unicorn's ear. As she continued to listen to the joyous echoes of her classmates' voices, she found that her smug expression had gradually faded into a frown. It's like I'm a ghost or something. It's just one little hit. It's not like every pony has to hate me. Vinyl dug her hoof into the ground, where she sat. A refreshing zephyr weaved its way through the leaves of each tree in the grove. Vinyl's mane dancing with it as it began to fade. Somehow, she thought, the wind simply made everything better. It was partially due to the occasional breeze, she thought, that Vinyl was able to properly enjoy her recess time despite her solitude. After feeling the wind dying down, Vinyl peered up for a moment at the nearby clock on the outer wall of the school. The filly applied freshly learned skills and deduced the time, 1:47. Huh, I guess school's good for something. Maybe I can shut my eyes for a few before the bell, Vinyl said to herself. She closed her eyes and prepared herself for a well-deserved rest. Come on, guys, give it back! Vinyl opened her eyes to the sound of Colt's plea. What the hay is that all about? Vinyl's voice rang softly. After getting up, the pony slowly made her way out of the conglomeration of sycamores, the outside world fading into view as she pushed aside the branches and leaves that sheltered her from every pony else. When she finally found herself out of the grove, she saw 4 ponies near a lonely swing set, one surrounded by the other 3. In the air, a bag was being tossed around recklessly from pony to pony. The colt in the middle, however, didn't seem to be enjoying the game. His coat was sad, Vinyl thought. Why is Blue so sad? She wondered for a split second before being pulled back into the events that were unfolding in front of her. The blue colt in the middle was still running around aimlessly, attempting to intercept the bag before it could reach its next target. Seriously, all my sticks are in there! One of the ponies, a yellow colt, caught the bag in his mouth, and tossed it back into the air. "And what's that got to do with us?" The yellow pony's reply sounded cold. Final continued to stand on the sidelines, watching, debating. If she helped the colt get his bag back, the other three would gang up on her, too. If she helped the other three, she'd be a jerk. If she continued to observe and not do anything, she'd just be useless. No real way out of it, she thought to herself as she made up her mind. She waited patiently as the bag continued to fly through the air, keeping her eye on the pony about 10 feet from her. Final began to notice the pony in the middle starting to tire out as the pony she faced caught the bag in his mouth. She dug her right forehoof into the ground, readying herself to help the colt. To the left, to the right, and to the back. The bag continued to fly about. The sounds of wood tapping against wood could be heard whenever the bag landed in a new mouth. Final waited for a few additional cycles, and as the saddlebag made its way to the pony in front of her, she went into a gallop. Just as the colt was about to grasp the bag in his mouth, he felt an incredible weight fall right on his back. The bag, meanwhile, fell to the ground, and the blue colt in the middle rushed to get it. "Stop messing with him, Kay!" Vinyl spoke directly into the pony's ear from atop his back. Under her substantial frame, the pony found himself struggling to stay upright. After only a few seconds, his legs gave out, and he dropped to the ground. "Hey!" The spiky-haired green pony who had been tossing the bag caught Vinyl's attention. "You messed up our game! And look what you did to Starlight!" Vinyl looked down at the pony she sat on, who was now struggling a bit to breathe. "You better run, filly!" The green pony and his cohort prepared to go into a gallop. Vinyl removed herself from the exhausted pony's back and immediately took off, running around the swing set toward the school's long-abandoned soccer field. As she passed the swings, she heard the sounds of an additional 2 sets of galloping. Not taking any time to look back, she continued to run across the field that encompassed much of the school's play area. Still ahead of her pursuers, Vinyl made her way to the school playset, which many ponies were still playing on. She ran up a slide that sat against the structure, albeit with some difficulty, and jumped off the platform she then found herself on, landing on all fours with a thud before continuing to run. Rather than follow her route, the ponies behind her went around the playset. Vinyl was nearing the soccer field. If she could get there, she thought, she could waste enough time for recess to end. The teachers would come out to gather their respective students, and when Vinyl's teacher found her student at the soccer field, Vinyl could tell her all about the mean ponies that annoyed that blue colt and chased her. Sure, she'd be called a tattletale, but it wasn't like she had any more of a reputation to lose. She thought all of this as she approached the soccer field, which was now coming into view. Vinyl looked behind her, still running, to find that the ponies following her had begun to slow down with fatigue. She chuckled a bit and called back at them. "Should have known that you can't catch me. I'm Vinyl Scratch, you jerks." Again she laughed. A green pony gave a simple response. "Yeah, and you better slow down." "Why?" Vinyl's voice echoed through the air. "So you can—" Suddenly, Vinyl ran out of ground to run on. For just a moment, her rambunctious little filly thought she might have been flying. However, as she learned quickly, the situation was quite the opposite. She was falling, but to where? Not knowing what to do, she tilted her body forward, as if to do a front flip, until her back faced the ground. A loud thud sounded as her back slammed against the steep slope she had just leaped off of. She found herself in the air again. Was it over? Vinyl nearly breathed a sigh of relief before she hit the slope again. This time, however, she didn't bounce back into the air. Down she slid, down and down and down, screaming all the way with searing pain in her back. Eventually, after about 10 seconds, she found that she had reached the bottom, and as her body collected the grass and dirt that lay at the bottom of the hill, she realized that all she could do at this point was hang on to consciousness. However, that seemed to become increasingly difficult as time went on. Soon enough, the still, rotated image of the soccer field before her started to blur as her vision faded away. The short slumber, Vinyl remembered, was very, very peaceful. "Hey, Breakbeat, I think she's coming too." The words faded slowly into Vinyl's ears as her eyes struggled to open. "Really? I'll be right there." Vinyl could hear the sounds of hooves pounding against wood for a moment, getting closer with each step. After a moment had passed, the sounds reached her and stopped abruptly. At this point, Vinyl finally opened her eyes completely and found that she was facing the ceiling. "You're awake! Ah, that's so great!" A familiar voice came from Vinyl's right. She turned her head, her neck aching the entire time, to find that two ponies were sitting next to her. She began to get a feel for her surroundings and quickly came to realize that she was in a bed, resting underneath a blanket. A few seconds of silence passed as the young unicorn began to fully grasp the situation. "I'm Breakbeat," the blue pony next to her broke the silence. "You helped me out back at the playground. I saw those ponies chasing you, and I kind of followed. That was a really nasty fall, you know. I don't know what you were thinking." He gave her an awkward smile. "Oh, no. Is this a nurse's office? I'm telling you, if you get a needle anywhere near me, I'll—" Vinyl's weak words were cut off by those of a larger, sunflower yellow stallion that accompanied Breakbeat. "Does this look like the nurse's office?" "Sorry, dear, this is our house. School ended about half an hour ago. Breakbeat here found you at the bottom of a hill and got a teacher to get you guys a carriage back here. Your stuff is in the corner. Injuries don't look too bad, but you've got a few bruises and you'll be sore everywhere for a while." Vinyl smiled faintly. "Thanks," she said simply, as she began to turn onto her stomach, stifling a scream all the while. When she completed her rotation, she found herself facing a window. As she peered out, she began to notice the familiarity of the houses that lined the opposite side of the street. "Hey, Breakbeat, where do you live?" 23 Cloudsdale. Why?" Vinyl quickly turned her head to the colts, doing her best to contain another scream. "Shut up! I live a few houses down." Vinyl rubbed her neck for a moment,